I'm here for the Monday vibes, by the way. And if you're not here for the Monday vibes, I don't even know what is going on. So we've got a coffee. I tell you what, this is by far one of the best coffees on the planet. Like oat milk lattes. If you haven't had an oat milk latte, go and check it out. I genuinely thought it would be horrific, but it's honestly the best. It tastes so much better than a normal latte. But here we are, right? Monday, start of a new week. This is going to be our best week. This is going to be our worst week. Have we woke up feeling, oh my God, and we're feeling full of dread? If you're feeling full of dread, it ain't going to start your week off in the best way. So we want to work out what our plan is going to be for this week. Have you even got a plan? That's the big question. So what we're doing here on the Sales Huddle? Well, the idea behind the Sales Huddle is this is going to be starting off every week, Monday. We're going to be dropping in. We're going to be sharing tips, advice, hacks, trainings for you to use in your business. For most people out there, dusting off the cobwebs on the start of a Monday can be a hard thing to do, right? We've all had a chill out weekend. You spent time with your family, your missus, the kids, your husband. And we've got to dust off those cobwebs and get back into that mindset that we're going to go out and really transform our businesses this year, this month, this week, today, right now, the next hour. And listen, let me ask you this. What have you got planned in the next 3 hours? Like, what have you got planned? What's an actual thing that we can track, monitor, gauge, that's actually going to take us to that next level, right? What are we going to do? Open that door. It's like an oven in here. So what are we going to do? What's the big thing that we're actually trying to achieve? What's the big pain points that we're going to do? What are you going to make this month, this week, today? What in the next 3 hours are you actually going to develop within the business? Because if you're waking up now and there's sleeps in your eyes and you're like, oh yeah, I'll get round to that. I'll start making calls at 2, 4, 6. There's 2 clear ways to make more money. 1, increase your activity, people. That's all you got to do. Do what you're doing now in the way that you do it right now, but just do more of it. It's that simple. 2, get better at what you do. Increase your skills, increase your ability, increase your processes. That's what I've got for you today. So don't you worry about that. We've got you covered. So part of this is going to be automation, tools, trainings, processes. And we're going to come back today. My eyes are driving me mad today. So that's one thing we're going to be doing. We're going to be turning up all the time. This might even turn into like a regular show on a daily basis. If you'd like that, let me know. Drop me a comment. Because this is the big thing. It's easy, especially for solopreneurs. We sell ourselves on the idea of, I'm just going to float around, take it easy and chill out. What about if you got real deliberate on this stuff? What about this being, and I've done this yesterday. I posted it yesterday. If you haven't seen it, go back and see it. Is this week... how could this week be the best week you've ever had in your life? How could it? Now, if you're sat there now and you're like, oh, shut up, Dave. That sounds ridiculous. That sounds like nonsense. This ain't going to be my best week ever. If that's where your mindset is, I want you to ask you this. Why couldn't this week be the best week you've ever had? If you're in sales, why couldn't this be your highest performing week? Might be because of your pipeline. Might be because it is. Might be because your leg hurts. Might be because you could have played for Chelsea, but you got that knee injury. Whatever it is. This week, your best years, your best months, your best sales should all be in front of you. If they ain't, you got problems. If they're not in front of us, we've got issues. And I'm going live now in Clubhouse. And we're going to be talking today about tools, some automation. We're going to drop some absolute gems that you can use. And this is going to be part of our sales huddle. I want to give you the tools that you need, right? I want to give you the tools to get to that next level. So if you're right now thinking, I'm not ready, I'm not going to go.
So that will pass on to David to give us a bit of a masterclass, but various tools, very practical ones that he will tell us, for the various
give me 2 secs. I'm with you.
Functions of automating your life. And
so you're doing this in Clubhouse, Clubhouse, YouTube, Insta.
We will ask
LinkedIn,
people currently
Facebook.
on stage to give
We're
a
here.
share if they want to.
We're here everywhere.
If they are able.
And this is why. It's about getting everywhere, people. If you're not everywhere, people, how do you know what you're doing?
So if you want to ask a particular question that that maybe David mentioned during his talk, then feel free to let us know what your question is. What you need to do is you need to hit the share button. And with the share button, we would like you to tell us what question you would like to ask. Then we will basically pick a question that we think basically applies for as many people as possible. Then we will pick your question. We'll be disabling the chat. Unfortunately, last time I had the chat option open, it completely slowed down the entire room because every time I click on that chat, I get really stuck in there. So please don't use the chat. Just use the share function to tell us what.
Just got a message saying that the old sales the sound wasn't coming through. And as the sound weren't coming through, can't do it. Instagram Live, welcome back. So we're going to be talking today about sales, automation, getting shut together. Let's get our Monday in, right? Let's hit it in the right way. If you're feeling flat, if you feel like this energy is too much for the way, just get used to it and leave. Because too often people, that's not what we're trying to do. I'm not up for that. So we're going to drop some big energy. We're going to do any skimpy energy. We're going to go big on the energy. We're going to go big on the facts, big on the deliverabilities, big on everything that you need to get to the next level within the business. We're going to provide actionable, practical tips that you can use within the business. If you want to do more on this, you can either go to thesalesangel.com, theultimatesalestrainingacademy.com, or if you want something for free, just go to closedealstoday.com. Let's close deals today.com. It's literally that easy, right? And then we're going to jump into this. Then we're going to drop you some trainings. Today we're talking about the whole automation game. We're talking about top mistakes to avoid, tools for marketing, sales, all-rounder tools, proposals, the whole lot. And the whole idea behind this is to give you exactly what you need. So if you're at a stage of your business now, you're thinking, well, what the hell? What the hell are we trying to do? What are we trying to achieve? Where are we going with stuff?
Where I check my messages the fastest. And also, other than that, family business is really real estate, healthcare, art, and crypto.
So we're trying to work out exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to work out how we're going to achieve stuff. We're trying to work out how we're going to get to the next level. Two main ways, said about it earlier. Number one, if you want to get more results, it's this simple. Everything you're doing right now, do more of it. Do more activity. If you did the same as you did last month, it increased your activity by 30%, what's going to happen to your results? Do more of what you're doing. Other option, get better at the thing you do. All right, Instagram Live, we're having a nightmare today with us. I say a nightmare. It's really not a nightmare. But it keeps cutting out. So if that happens to your Instagram Live, welcome back. Come in, sit down. We haven't started the training yet. Don't worry. So this is going to be our Monday morning sales huddle. We are here today to drop values, tips, hacks, trips so that you can use within your business. We're talking about giving you more ability in your business. And then what we're going to be doing is dropping out automation tips. This is streamed out on Clubhouse, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. I think that's it. And the idea behind it is what we're doing right now. If you're just going to increase your activity, that's great. Automation can help with that. Because if you automate some of your processes, right? Imagine if I look at it like this. Imagine I'm a band, right? And I'm trying to play all the instruments at the same time. It's not going to flow that well. But imagine for the minute, I could automate the drums. That frees me up to play the guitar. Same with your sales. So if you're on a phone call, hand-to-hand combat, having the conversations, interactions, talking to you, solving problems directly, interactively with your clients, but in the background, you've got tools that are engaging with all the other people in your pipeline. Makes sense. That's what we need to do. But it's what do we need to do? What order we need to do them? How do we get them to work in the most effective way? And the vast majority of the time, we completely and utterly screw it up. Like, we completely screw it up. We cover some of these in a minute. I've got 7. That's not 7. 7 of the top mistakes that I've been using. And why do you want to listen to me on it? I've made great successes. I've had massive failures. I struggled with sales. Not a great student. Become a student at the game. Had to learn by force. Simply forced myself into sales because this was my only option. And then learned the fact that it wasn't just working hard. If working hard was simply all we had to do, the soldiers out there that go out and fight in wars would get paid the best amount of money because they're definitely working hard. So what we want to do is combine working hard, working smart. And in the middle of that, I want to bring to you today some tools, some tips, some tricks and hacks that you can use within the business to take it up to that next level. And for the vast majority of the time out there, people set up the wrong tools. And that's it. We get the wrong tools at the wrong time, and that doesn't help you. Most people don't think about that. We just think about simply, well, what am I trying to do? What tools do I possibly need? And when we work out the tools we possibly need, we start thinking that we've got it all cracked, and it's just not the case. Often you can screw yourself up massively by putting the wrong tool into a business. And we're going to talk about that. Just thinking automation is going to be a magic pill, it isn't. It's just not. In the same way, I can go and do a series of different things today in my business. But actually, if they're not generating the result that I'm looking for, even if they work properly, I'm screwed. Just because you have a handful of automations doesn't mean you're going to make it successful. And that's what I really want to cover. So LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram Live. I'm delighted you come to see this today. If you're watching this back on the old repeat, I appreciate you. Feel free to drop me a DM or a comment if you want to have any help. If you wonder about how it works, it's quite simple. I help people through a series of automations through into one-on-one strategy building and team training. So I actually help the teams develop better strategies that are more effective in their business. My nose won't stop itching. So the whole idea about these sales huddles is to bring some more energy, some more facts, some more tips, some hacks, some tricks that you can go and use in the business to get to that next stage. And this is going to break down some of the stuff that's in there right now. Because if you're trying to get to the next level of your business, you're only going to be able to do that by progressing it. Like, unless your business is the miracle unicorn business, you're not going to be able to just keep on increasing it now. Right? It's not going to happen. We've got to take new steps, new actions to get more effective. If you had a 100% success rate on your sales, for example, you're not pitching the right amount of people. Might offend someone. It's true. That means you're only ever pitching people that are ready to buy now. That means you're an order taker. We're going to get in. To make our lives and make our businesses better. So without further ado, David, over to you. Good morning, Jan. Good morning, everyone. Lovely to see everyone. Happy Monday to everyone tuning in. So yeah, me and Jan were talking about it, and we were talking about how well received the automation side chat we had a few weeks ago was. So I wanted to go a little bit further into that, and I broke it down into a little bit of a different conversation today. So we're going to, over the space of the next 20 minutes, 25 minutes, break down some things to avoid. And then I broke down a number of actual tools, depending on what you're trying to achieve. And the whole reason behind this, and for anyone on Clubhouse or anyone who's, tuning in on Instagram Live or Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn, when we're in our business now, the tools that we use, if they're not being used at the right time effectively, it's pointless. Everyone knows someone who has that garage full of tools but doesn't know how to use them. And a lot of the time, people do the same with automation. So what we want to work out is, with automation itself, what are we trying to achieve? What's the result it's going to do? And how do we know this is going to be effective? So we're going to cover initially some of the top mistakes I see people make. Because if I can help people cover some of the mistakes that they've made before, if I can help some people cut down the learning time, because listen, this is half of the battle. It's not just about what works that makes a massive difference. It's also a combination of what doesn't work. Because there might be something now that works for John down the road, but you go and put it in your business and it's not going to work. And that's not going to help you. And that's because there's a small incremental change within that business, what they're trying to do, maybe their avatar. So when I say to people, any of these things, when we're talking about tools, do your research. This is a guide. This is me saying, hey, I've worked with hundreds of people. These are the top tier tools that most people will get a good benefit of when they've got it working in the right way. And if you don't have it working in the right way, you can't expect them to give you the right result. If you need a screwdriver, but you're using a hammer, it's not going to help you. But on the flip side, sometimes we use tools because we get excited of the features, but we don't think about some of the changes that actually will happen within your business too. Now, let's break these down just so everyone's got this clear. So these are just some of the big pain points I see when I'll go into a business and I'll look at something and I'll be like, that's just not working for you. Now, here's one. Most people will have experienced this as a user. There's a lot of great tools that are out there, but if they're not used effectively, they're actually a hindrance to you and your business. So, for example, there is a tool out there at the moment where I know about 8 entrepreneurs, but I'll comment on their Instagram post supporting them in their business. Suddenly, I'm getting an automated DM. For me, I find that really annoying. So it stops me engaging with those people. And these aren't just people that are just friends. These are people I potentially could do business with in the future. But because this app, they've got it set up where they're thinking anyone who comments, I'll send them a message to engage them. That's not a good user experience unless that person was ready to buy already. When actually, I think there's far better tools that you could use than that single setting. Now, if you've got a massive social media following and you do a post that's going to have a clear call to action, then yeah, I understand doing it. But if you're not giving people a better experience for this tool, it's solely there for you, frank, with a bitter taste in their mouth. So we've got to think initially, is what I'm going to implement going to be user-friendly? What's going to be the experience for people, not just that come on once? Because you could go on to someone, you could go and test out this app, right? And you go, oh, that's cool. I comment on the post and then I'll get it, they'll send me a DM. But what about if that's someone who actually comments on every one of your posts? They're soon going to stop. What else could be done with other tools that are out there? I know people with email cycles. I know one guy, he's sending 3 emails a day, automated. Each one's real sales heavy. That's not a good use of your time. All that happens is the click-through rate drops off massively. The open rate drops off massively. So then, yeah, you're doing more activity and it's automated, but it's actually costing you time off the back of that. Because what you're then doing is you're damaging the existing relationship you're having. So number one, you've got to make sure that this is user-friendly. And one of the top mistakes out there is people don't look at it from the way their avatar will use it. Are they multiple visitors to your site? Do they only turn up once? What will be the experience? What's the message that they get? Do they feel like it's a cold relationship? And that brings us to number 2. Automation tools, when not used correctly, will make it feel very impersonal. People don't mind the occasional automated message. That's fine. But if they feel like they are just getting an automated you all the time, a lot of people are buying into you as a personal brand. So if people are contacting you as a personal brand and you're a small business, a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, and they're only getting an automated message, if you're only getting 3 of those a week, for example, on Instagram, Facebook, your website, it's a waste of time because you want to maximize it. A lot of these automation tools are to do high numbers or long-term consistency. So if you're only getting 2 DMs a week, you definitely don't need an automation tool. You want to maximize that personalization of that conversation. And if you're having something that's impersonal, you're going to alienate some of these people. So when you're setting up any of these tools, think about it. What am I giving up for this tool? Is it worth my time? So for example, I've got a client at the moment. They get around about 60 to 80 DMs a week. They're extremely busy. They don't sell in the DMs. They have 6 different tools, which most of the audience are coming for. So they're not getting a lot of engagement from other areas. The majority of it isn't comment based, it's DM based. So they don't have a comment tool set up. But with that tool itself, what will happen is when it comes through, it slickly and effectively gives them a number of options where they can go through 3 different options straight away. So it's quick. Now, yes, that's impersonal, but the time saved for the user is worthwhile. If we're just doing it to save our time and we don't make sure that the customer, the client, the potential user, the prospect is going to get the right results, it's not going to help. Number 3, big mistakes I see people use. They have tools they don't need. Just because the tool is amazing doesn't mean you need it. There are tools in your car, new Mercedes S-Class. Some of the stuff they've got is unbelievable. But if they're tools that you don't need, it doesn't matter because you're using the car anyway. In your business, if you're going to pay to implement something, you're going to take the time to implement it. You're going to make sure it works. That time can often take a huge amount of effort because if you're sat there now and you think that you're going to take some magic pill on an automation and you go, okay, going to set that up 10 minutes time, it's going to be live, I'll never have to do that again. You're wrong. A lot of the real good automation tools can take a huge amount of tweaking and turning and converting and adding data and creating conversations that will take you time, effort, and money for a very low output of result later. So what we've got to think about is what are the main gaps within my client journey right now? How could I add a tool in that area that are actually going to add a benefit to the person who's visiting and to me as a business? Or how can I add a tool which can impact more people than I can physically do manually? Or how can I get something which is going to free up my time to mean I can do other activities that are going to generate more leads? So for example, if we're going to have a tool out there that's going to, imagine for a moment before email was automated and you could only send emails manually and you wanted to send 500 emails. That's a lot of time, a lot of effort. Now, that feels crazy now because we've got it all on automation. Everyone's used to that. But what are you doing in your business now, which takes a lot of time, but it stops you doing other things? And if those things that you're being stopped doing cost money or generate money, should we say, then having this tool there is a good idea. But if we're simply doing it because we can't be bothered to send this message or have that engagement, we need to change our mindset from that. Number 5. Big mistakes we see people with automation. Not checking that the system actually works properly. I'll give you a prime example. Recently, we have an email cycle of 16 emails. 16. They come out to people every 4 or 5 days, then it's every couple of weeks, and it just keeps in contact. 4 of the buttons of our call to actions weren't working. Hands up. We screwed up. Now, anyone who doesn't put their hands up and they screw up, check yourselves because you've got to realize these things will happen. And I spoke to someone, they said, I tried booking in, but the link didn't work. What we didn't realize was the link that we had set up with our Calendly was the old link. So it was trying to connect to the wrong one. Now, if we didn't find that out, we would have assumed, which is daft, that everything would be working. And then we'd blame the tool on not working when actually the tool wasn't set up. It was a human error. So we've got to make sure that we're going off and actually checking that these tools are not just set up right, they're connecting correctly, and all the processes are going through. Everyone I know is quick to get tools set up on a singular version, but they very rarely will sit down and go through the whole process in their journey or get someone else to do it even better. Because you should be able to map out, okay, Joe Blogs comes into my funnel here at my lead magnet. They get an automated message here. Then they download the lead magnet. That's going to start my email sequence. After the email sequence, they're going to get the opportunity to make a call. When they make a call, they're going to get an automatic reminder. An automatic reminder is going to take them to here. Now, if we haven't gone through that journey, if that email sequence, for example, isn't sent out correctly and connected correctly, everything else in your journey is irrelevant. So we've got to really make sure that when we're sending this traffic through and we add something in, that it's working in the correct way. Many people will have used Zapier. And if you don't know what Zapier is like a connector. Easiest way to look at it. It'll connect up two different devices, two bits of software. So for example, when I do this here, Zapier will initiate this to connect to that one, and it will take an action here. So that could be connected to your CRM. And when you move a lead over, Zapier will connect it to automatically send a proposal, send out an email, whatever that might be, book an appointment. Now, if that wasn't set up right, it doesn't matter how good your tool is, because it's not going to be effective within the business because it won't work. And if it's not set up correctly at the right time with the right people and the right next steps, it's going to be a complete waste of your time, effort, and money. And you'll sit there for 2 months wondering what's going on. And you'll see a drop off in your business. And even worse, the user experience is now completely screwed. Now they don't have confidence in you. And you're never going to regain those people because you won't know the people that came there and when they dropped off. So it's really important to make sure we get this right. Number 6. This is a warning more than anything else. Trying to automate everything. If you have a huge amount of audience coming through, that's great. If you're trying to automate a whole process on a low ticket product, I get it. But if you're dealing with high ticket products, automating everything is a real pain point I find for people. And here's why. Most personal brands, business coaches, whatever that might be, if you've got a high ticketed product and you only have a small base, the majority of the people, they are depending on you as a person. They're buying into you as an expert, as a professional, a person in their field they're going to lean on. Now, if you're just trying to automate everything you've got, that can work. But how much do you miss on lost revenue from those people that didn't have that personal touch? So when we're trying to automate things, make sure it's adding the value for your avatar. Unless you're just trying to sit on the beach in Hawaii where you don't want to work and you don't mind sacrificing all the potential clients because you're happy with only getting X amount of automated deals in. If you're trying to build that type of business without any personal side, that's fine. But I think for most businesses out there, they're not trying to do that. Most businesses out there, they want to make sure they're delivering, and we should, the very best level of service to our clients, our prospects, our customers, however you want to describe them. We want to make sure that those people are getting to feel special and wanted and warmed up, and that they are needed and wanted in that environment, and that we nurture them in that environment through. If you're just trying to simply take orders and activate people on a low ticketed product, that's great. But most people out there, if they're going to invest into a business, a course, a program, a product, a service, there will be some degree of doubts and questions that are in there. And if you've automated everything that's in there, you're going to leave yourself in a very awkward position. Because most of the time when people, and we've all done this, we sit there and we say, yeah, I'm just not ready. Now, that wasn't the fact that you weren't ready. You just hadn't had enough information, value, guidance, understanding, connection, whatever it might be, to make a decision where you're happy to execute at that level. And the vast majority of the time out there, we do all of this hard work. We invest in the lead generation tools, the lead magnets, the follow-ups, the emails, the videos, the engagement, the phone calls, all of this stuff. And we build that person right the way up. And then we stop. Now, anyone else who's been on the other side of that, you contact a client for the first time, a prospect, and they're literally ready to go, ready to buy. Boom. That's normally because they've already been through someone else's funnel all the way up to that point. So they might have had a great relationship all the way through, but because it wasn't that personal touch inside of it, they've gone off to look for answers. They didn't know what the answers were. They didn't know what the questions were. So they've gone off seeking further information. And then they come across your website, so they buy straight away. But here's the big trick that a lot of people fall into, the big trap even. When you get those easy deals, we start trying to look for just those easy deals. And we go, okay, cool. So if I just do A, B, and C, they'll buy. No, those people have already come through other people's funnels, built up information, had guidance, had questions answered, watched the videos, done the trainings, understood the market, whatever it is, up to a level, then you've just turned up at the right point. Now, when you're looking, a lot of people out there, they're going to need more engagement. See, yes, automation is a truly fabulous thing to have in your business, but you've got to really understand all of the areas within that business to make sure we're getting it right. Because if we just go straight out and we're like, boom, turn it on. Do you remember you see them turning on all the airplanes, all the buttons, ding, 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 ding. And we just turn it on and we just sit back. We put our feet up and we're like, right, let's wait for the money to roll in. Now, even if that's all working in the right way, doesn't mean that just straight away that's all going to work. So we've got to be able to analyze exactly what we're going to work. And this leads me on to number 7, and we're going to talk about the tools themselves. Be mindful when you're looking at the hype behind automation tools. Because here's one of the big things that we've got. When we're breaking it down, and Alex Hormozy talks about this with our offers, if you've got a high likelihood it's going to succeed, if we're going to reduce the amount of sacrifice or pain for someone, if we're going to be able to deliver results in a quicker amount of time, we're going to be more inclined to want to buy it. So with an automation tool, it will normally cut down a huge amount of time, right? Sacrifice, there's not one because it's automated. And there's a likelihood it's going to convert a certain amount of business. It's going to deliver on a certain result, but you can't do manually. So the idea of an automation tool can be very attractive for us. But just look at the fact that with the benefits, what it's talking about, what is the underlying side of it? Now, if you're going to go off now, magic pill, oh, that's great, I'm suddenly slim. Clearly not. It's the same with our business. When you take on that tool, if you're going to have, we've all been online to these chatbots that are out there, and they've got one that's ready built. Okay, that means it's not personal to you. Okay, well, you've got to build the conversations. Okay, cool. Do you know the framework of a conversation? Have you worked out those options? How are you going to write out every single one of these 30 different options? Then you've got the sub-levels from that. So there's another 20. Suddenly there's 50 different parts to this one part, but you've got to join them all together. Now, that's great if you have the time, but that might take you a week to build. That means for a week, you're not doing the normal work you would do. That means that your business is missing out on revenue. So it's not saying that these things aren't good, but we've got to weigh up the fact of, 1, is it going to be effective for my business where it's at right now? 2, is it worth doing it now because of where we're going? But actually, I've got the time to do it now, so it makes sense. But when all the traffic comes in, we won't lose people. 3, is it going to do what we need to do? And 4, is it worth the time and effort to implement it to a high enough standard that it will actually deliver for us? Because if we're at the stage where the automation tools themselves, they're not magic pills. If they're not getting the right result, if they're not working into their full capacity, they're not going to deliver to you. And if you don't know how to get them to their full capacity, apart from that 2-minute video you saw online, which is normally an automated webinar, it's not going to take you to that stage. This is why it's really important to work out, what are we automating? Why are we automating it? What's going to be the reaction to this automation? And how can it either increase and what can it decrease on the potential revenue that we've got? Okay. So I broke down a number of tools, which is just covering a few different areas from marketing, sales, some good all-rounders, and also even down to proposals. Now, some of these tools that are out there, the majority of them are either free or very low cost. I want to make sure that when I share some of these tools out, that you can go and use them without it being a massive decision. Now, this is not to say that these are the only tools that work, but these are tools, all of them, which either I have used or customers have used at some point over the space of the last 6 to 12 months that have had good results. Now, there's a couple of them in here you might not like. You might not like the way it works. They might even be illegal in your country. So make sure you do all your due diligence. Now, I know everyone's ears have just pricked up about that. Don't worry, we're not here pushing any crazy products. Just different countries have different rules of what you can do, what you can't do. And if you've got tools out there which legally can't be used in one country, but they can in another, and you're in the country it's not, it's on you to do your research. And realistically, the company should not be selling you to start with, but that's a whole nother subject. So first off, we were talking about marketing. So we've got different subcategories from within our marketing. Now, if you're looking for a hub for your marketing and you're going to get really intricate from your emails and from this and from that and tracking this and tracking that, for me, I think HubSpot is an annoying site when it's not working well. But it's actually, when you've got it effective, is a fantastic tool because of the back-end systems. If you get really hot on your KPIs, so your key performance indicators, if you're going to have real clear idea of what we're trying to do, when we're trying to do it, how we're trying to do it, and you're going to track the data, things like HubSpot are great because it will track all the areas. You jump into your emails, you can see the open rate, you can see how many times the button was clicked. You can try all these different areas and move things around to adjust it. So for an automation tool, as an all-rounder, HubSpot has got a massive amount of integrators that you can put in there to automate your business. So you can integrate a series of scheduled automated emails. You can have it scheduled for templates. You can have it scheduled for what will happen after. You can integrate parts to it, but when I do X, Y will automatically happen. So if you've got a sales team, for example, or you're a solopreneur, and you're going to go, okay, once I've done this and I move it from a new lead to a qualified call, we automatically have XYZ happen. HubSpot can from lead in to first call or qualifying call, whichever you've got it as, then it will automatically in the back end, A plus B equals X. So X could be a text message. It could be the email. It could be a booking link. It could be a booking system. It could be anything that's in there. So as for automation, you can just log in and you can get a free account with HubSpot. And then you go to integrations and search, and you'll be amazed at the amount of tools that can just bolt onto that system that can work really well. Again, it depends on your client journey. Okay, next up, if you're not using something like Mailchimp now to automate all your email sequences, I think it's about £7 a month. It's about $10. It can seem really annoying how to use Mailchimp for anyone who's not done it. Now, anyone who's savvy with Mailchimp, it seems obvious. But at the same time, with anything, when we don't know what we're doing with it, it's really hard to understand how it works. And often we'll have it set up and one thing will be wrong. With Mailchimp, it's worth going on and just go to YouTube. Step-by-step instructions how to use Mailchimp. And you get your email sequences, but when they come in, this happens, this is what's going to happen. And once you've got that set up in the most simple way, it is really, really effective. Next one for marketing. I spoke about this last time, and it's conversion AI, Jarvis, whatever you want to call it. Now, this is artificial intelligence, which will bolt into what you're trying to use. Now, the reason I say this is automated, this isn't automating your processes, but the artificial intelligence will massively help you when you're creating a lot of these things. The artificial intelligence, you can put in 5 subjects you're trying to build an email for or a blog and press a button, and it will automate the whole message. And it will do it in a very clear and articulate way. So conversion AI is something which you really need to make sure that in your back catalog, in your back pocket, you've got that as a tool that you use. You pay literally peanuts for it, and you can get really effective, whether that's blog posts, titles, and it will automate and generate all the information using artificial intelligence. Now, that is not an automation, but it automates the message. So if you right now don't have an email sequence for Mailchimp, you go to Conversion AI, you write out your subject matter, it will generate them, and you could create 10, 15, 20 different emails today that you can then put into Mailchimp, which you then connect to HubSpot, which then when XYZ happens, that will automatically start. So that covers you for your marketing for now. Okay, so here's a couple of controversial ones for you. Again, remember what I said to you earlier. Check if these are legal in your country, because some of these are illegal in countries. Now, I've worked with a couple of businesses. They've had great results with these, but you really have to check the fine print on how they are used. Really, really important. So the first one is a ringless drop app. Now, this means, and if you've ever had one of these, you might find them annoying, but they are actually really effective in business. But it can annoy a lot of people. And this means in certain countries, you can send out a huge amount of messages, and especially if they're connected up to something like HubSpot, which will send a voiceless a ringless message to that person, which will be, it could be a reminder for an appointment. It could be about an offer. It could be about a warning. It can be about a huge amount of things, but you have to really be careful. Some people out in Australia can use this almost with free reign. Other parts of Australia, you can't use it at all. Some parts of the US can use it with really free reign. Others, you have to use them for like storm warnings. Like there's real close lines on what you can and cannot do. But this means that you can impact with a very clear message that has tonality, has enthusiasm, it has real direct impact, far greater than you will on something like email. We all know what happens with email. That first title has to be massive. We start reading a few lines and suddenly we just drop off. If you get someone pick up a ringless voice message, the people that do actually listen to the message, if they get the stats show that if they get past, I think it's 2.5-3% of that message, so the first 3-4 seconds, and it's like a 45-second message, the people that do, the engagement is massive on the call to action. And some of the ringless voice drops will actually have press 3 now to get a call back or to be connected to the team. So say if you've got 5,000 people, and out of those, there might be 200 people which have reserved information for a masterclass that you've got. And in the terms and conditions, they've agreed to it. And in the country, it's valid. You could press one button to invite them to upgrade for a VIP spot, but might be, say, £35. But because you know a certain amount of those people, because they've engaged, they've agreed in terms and conditions, it's legal where they are, etc., etc. But actually, it's relevant, and they're already someone who's bought from you, buying from you. This can be an amazing tool to use within the business. Again, do your due diligence. Next up, very similar, but auto text. Depends on the country you're in. Depends on the messages that you're sending. Depends on your terms and conditions, your business, your industry, and all the other side. Slick text is one. And there's one in the UK which was used before as well. But again, you need to double check on that. I will check. Anyone who DMs me about it, just ask me. And I'll send you a couple of the websites, which I know other companies have used, where were based in the UK, but they were based in other countries. And the other countries' laws were fine to use. And they used the system that diverted it. Again, I'm not great on tech. But impact-wise, when you've got client upsells, text can be incredible to send out. Because even if you don't respond to the message, the majority of people will at least read the message, even if it's just simply because people hate to leave a message unread. And if you've got a smart message, if you've got something that's clever, if you've got something that grabs the attention, something which is an undeniable offer, you can get in front of a huge amount of people, a huge amount, by using something like this. This takes out a massive amount of draw. So if you've got a big database, a big potential prospect base, a small client team, and you want to focus that team in on a certain product, service, result, or pain point, you can utilize the text really clearly. So slicktext.com, and there's a number of others that you can use. DM me, I'll tell you. Okay, so all-rounders. We spoke about HubSpot earlier. And the reason I like HubSpot, and I write a disclaimer, I don't use HubSpot for what we deal with now, but most of the businesses I go to, because it's such a good all-rounder, what I use is Pipedrive, because our CRM system, the way that works, is set up very much aligned to the way we sell. But for an all-rounder, you can get HubSpot, which is great for your prospecting, for your KPIs, so your key performance indicators. Your emails, integrations are ridiculous on there, and even down to soft phone dialers. So when we're talking about automating, it's not just about automation that you're not involved with. Some of these, it's like having a robotic arm. So if you've got, for example, on your tool system, you can have a soft phone. So it's a phone that's on your system that you dial from your computer. So you're making a load of phone calls. You can set up with those systems, but you press one button, it calls the number. At the end, you can have text messages that can be sent to that number, obviously country dependent. So, and it will automatically populate the message. So, for example, you can have that set up, but I call Joan. Joan doesn't answer. I leave her a voice note. When I hang up, it sends her the pre-populated text message, and it follows up with an email 2 days later. And it will populate what's happened onto the CRM. But all I've done is press dial, leave a message, press hang up, move on to the next thing. Now, if you're contacting, or you've got a sales team that is contacting 100, 200 people a day, anyone who hears those numbers and freaks out, you need to get a better team. That's a massive amount of generic impact that can happen into your database, in with your sales teams. But what happens is really, you answer, you copy and paste, or you type out a message, then you're on there and you schedule a call, you schedule an email, whatever it might be. That can be sometimes 10 minutes. That means you can only contact 6 people an hour. That means over an 8-hour window, taking out your breaks, you're talking about 40 people. By doing it in this way, you can be out there and you can be making, say if no one answers and all you're doing is voice notes, you could contact 60 people an hour. Think about the difference in revenue that you can make within your business just by using that one thing effectively, the amount of impact you can have over a year. Contacting 6 people a day, average working days 20, I think 22. So that's like 125 people that you could contact in a month. Using that, if you could contact 60 people an hour, 50 people an hour, you're talking in 2 hours, 3 hours, you would contact more people in 3 hours than you would in a month using the old way. Now imagine that over a year on the amount of impact that one area can make. Now, if you've got that all set up right with something like an all-rounder, like HubSpot, all the way through those processes, now these don't have to be big sales pitches. They are touch points. They're communications. They're follow-ups. And if you've got it set up in the right way, when you do one thing, if 3 things over the following days can happen, which lets that person know, wow, I need to talk to that person more. Wow, that person's talking directly to me. Oh, that's actually really helpful. Or they've sent me a free gift, or it's a call, or whatever it is. When that person needs you, when they are ready to buy, when it's something's got in their business bad and they need your product, your solution, when something's happened at home and they need your product solution, they happen to get that automated service product result from you at that point. And let's not get it completely twisted. For the majority of time you're missing out on business, you weren't there at the right time. And this can really help you in the right way. Right, final one. If you're not using something for proposals at the moment, like DocuSign, you're really missing a massive trick. And I'll tell you why. Say I send a proposal out to Jan today. She's agreed to a proposal. We've set our terms. We've sent it over. The second, say if I send it now normally and I email it, I don't then know, and say I'm going to call it a follow with her Wednesday. I just sit and wait till Wednesday. And then Wednesday I think, okay, we'll wait till Thursday. We'll try her once, didn't call back, try again on Friday. It's a lot of faffing. With something like DocuSign, I send it out. The second it is opened by Jan, I get a notification. Now, if you're smart and you know that your person's agreed to do business with you and they've opened it, and then when it's completed, it will come and tell you it's completed. So say 15 minutes later, it's not been completed. You can be smart and have automated processes to follow up with that person. Or you give them a call. Hey, just a quick one. I got notified you've opened it. You've probably got a couple of questions. I'm just going into a meeting. I just wanted to find out what the top question you've got was. Right? You can just follow up in a more effective way. Or if they haven't opened it by Wednesday, you know not to call them. You know how to follow up in a more effective way. So having those tools behind it, which will tell you what has happened, when it has happened, how it has happened, and then having a clear identified solution for each one of them is only going to help you from within the business. Let's move on.